8:32 a.m., May 18th, 1980, USGS volcanologist David Johnston would scream into a transponder, "Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it. Vancouver, is the transmitter on?" as a massive pyroclastic flow from the eruption of Mount St Helens in Washington headed directly for him at nearly supersonic speeds. Over the last several months, Mount St. Helens in Washington had become increasingly more active, with various smaller eruptions and earthquakes all around the mountain, until it exploded out the side of the mountain that morning, May 18th, 1980, in which it killed that previous volcanologist, David Johnston. Now, Johnston had been at a USGS observation post just 6 miles north of the mountain called Coldwater 2, and then about a mile or so north of that was another man, an amateur radio operator by the name of Jerry Martin. Now, from where Jerry Martin was sitting, he had a picture-perfect view of the eruption and the pyroclastic flow headed directly for Johnston and Martin himself. He would then get on the radio and say his final words. "Gentlemen, the camper in the car that's sitting over to the south of me is covered. It's going to hit me too." And then the radio went silent and he was never heard from again. Elsewhere on the volcano, photographer Robert Landsberg had been documenting changes in the mountain that morning. When the eruption occurred, he turned his camera towards the pyroclastic flows and took photographs of them as they raced toward him. Just before they got there, he put his film back in his camera, put his camera in his backpack, laid the backpack on the ground, and then put his body over his backpack and his camera, and died there on the spot. 17 days later, his body had successfully protected the camera, and they were able to develop some of the most incredible photos of pyroclastic flows from a volcano that have ever been taken. The eruption of Mount St. Helens caused the largest landslide that has ever been observed in recorded history. It destroyed any and all vegetation around the mountain and blew out one side of the mountain, you can see right here, as well as killing 57 people who were in the area of the mountain at the time of the eruption. The eruption also pumped 540 million tons of ash into the air, with many of it spreading over much of the northern part of the United States, with up to half an inch of ash falling in certain areas. And in the areas around the actual mountain itself, they got anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of ash falling from the sky and settling everywhere. The Mount St. Helens eruption in May of 1980 still remains the deadliest volcanic eruption in the United States to date. Now, Mount St. Helens has had minor volcanic activity since 1980, with the last small eruption occurring in 2008. But it still is a very much active volcano.